and designing your website as a creative entrepreneur. So, welcome. And today I'm going to be talking about websites. And I think one of the main stumbling blocks for creative people is always technology. Often this puts people off starting their own business or taking it beyond the Etsy or Instagram feed kind of level. So today I thought I'd give you some top tips on choosing and implementing your own website with minimum fuss. So I've had my own website now in various forms for about 11 years. I began with Wordpress, and then a couple of years ago I switched to Shopify for my products and Squarespace for my coaching, branding and photography services. I no longer have my products, so I'm just on Squarespace now. So I have always built all of my websites, and I've actually really kind of enjoyed the process and that control of being able to try different looks out and kind of build it myself. And I've actually started doing it for quite a lot of my coaching clients lately. And I just thought I would talk to you a little bit more detail today and help you make some decisions if you're wondering where to go with it. So first off, why did I switch from WordPress? So to be honest, it's because I'd had the website for a really long time. I'd added to it, I changed it bit by bit. The design had become a bit diluted. Everything was a bit clunky because I'd changed my offerings a few times, and I had loads of plugins all doing different things. And to be frank, it was costing a lot more than it needed to. It also broke a lot. And again, mostly because it had been through so many iterations, it was just really no longer fit for purpose. It wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. It wasn't bringing me in clients. It wasn't converting people once they came to the website to see what there was, because it was just not very easy to navigate by the people that were supposed to be using it. So I decided to have a clean start. I split my shop off onto Shopify because it's so easy for e-commerce. And I put all of my services onto my Squarespace website, which is what you see today. And I loved the beautiful sleek designs of Squarespace. I loved that it was easy to use and it was really intuitive to build. So having come from a WordPress background, I thought it was going to take me a really long time to kind of get to grips with Squarespace and that it was going to be a bit of a learning curve. But actually, do you know what? I got into it pretty quickly and I love it now. So, and even running both of these new websites, so the Shopify website and the Squarespace website, it was still cheaper than my WordPress. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. So how do you go about choosing the right platform for you? So, and also I just want to sort of add in here that I don't get any affiliate things and there's no financial benefits for me kind of promoting these things. These are the things that I'm telling you that I really love because I personally use them and they are working really, really well for me. I would never recommend things that I don't use myself. So now I would always go to Squarespace for portfolio or service-based businesses. So for me as a coach and a photographer, Squarespace is amazing. And Shopify for product-based businesses. So when I used to sell all of my silk ribbons and things like that, Shopify was amazing. So yes, Squarespace does have a shop facility, which is fine if you have a handful of, say, digital products like I do that complement your services. But Shopify is hands down the easiest e-commerce solution right now for anyone who is selling products, in my humble opinion. So the first thing that I do with my coaching clients, if they want help with their websites, is to get them to write down a list of must-haves for their website. So these are the things that are absolutely non-negotiable that they've got to have. So things like an about page, a sales page, a shop, a portfolio, things like that. The things that you absolutely need to have. And then a separate list of like the nice to have things. So the things that you feel like you might like to have later on, but they're not sort of essential right now. But it maybe allows for growth, or it maybe allows you to do things, from the off that you might have thought that you might have to wait for. So things like podcast modules. So obviously I'm talking to you on the podcast that I host on my own website, on my Squarespace website. It goes out on Apple Podcasts, and it's relatively easy to set up with Squarespace. And, it wasn't something that I had wanted right from the off, but it was really nice to have that opportunity to build this out. So you also might want some maybe video options, or you might want to consider integrations with other platforms like your email list, Zoom, for instance, teaching platforms maybe you're on if you run courses. You might want meeting booking systems. So things like I use Acuity for scheduling, so people can get on and book like their discovery course, for instance, and that's all hosted on my website as well. So that's really nice and integrated. So again, as I said, the things that you might like to have but maybe aren't essential and high on your list right now. But it's good to know sort of where you might want to go with your business in the future so that you can scale without having to kind of redo a whole website. So let's focus on Squarespace for a moment. So you can obviously build your own design on Squarespace if you want to. If you're like a CSS ace and you're like used to building your own stuff and you're quite kind of confident technically, then you might want to kind of have that control and also have something that's really unique to you and build your own. But if you're not kind of particularly techie savvy and you just want a website that works and looks good, then I would go for a theme template, and it will save you a lot of time and look much better if you don't have those skills. So there's some really, really great themes out there. There's even like free ones on Squarespace you can have a look at. My actual favourite theme template shop is Square Muse. I use them myself and they are utterly beautiful. Again, I don't get any kickback for saying this. I'm telling you that they're great because I use them and I love them. They're really beautiful designs, and Square Muse are really, really great at actually designing things that not only look great, but that they actually convert. So they're really, really well designed for actually selling and promoting your services rather than just that lovely aesthetic that they are also known for. So, definitely have a really, really good look around at what these templates are offering. And it's very easy to be seduced by ones that have really beautiful photography, for instance, on them, or have like really lovely branding. But obviously those don't come with the theme. So you need to be looking more at, does the layout suit you? Do the pages, the page options that are there look good to you? Is the things that you're selling going to fit into that theme really, really easily? Or are you going to have to kind of do a little bit of moving around of things? So try not to be too seduced by the beauty of them, and try and look at the functionality first and foremost with that list that I recommended that you draw up before you start. With the Square Muse ones, there's also the options to buy like individual pages or things like sales pages or portfolio pages and things like that as well. You don't have to buy sort of the full whack if you don't want to, but I personally have bought their main template and then I have used some of their add-on things as I've grown. So there's lots of great options there. Also, their blog is really, really helpful as well. If you're building a Squarespace site, the Square Muse blog has got some really, really great advice and help articles. So definitely recommend that you go and check those out. So yeah, the portfolio options and sales pages are really superb. So particularly if you struggle with writing website copy, they have loads of helpful hints in there about what to put in each section actually in the template itself, which I found really great because I don't have a sales background, so writing sales copy has always been a bit of a hurdle of mine, and they really helped me get better at it. So yeah, go check them out. I also really like that you only pay for what you really use with Squarespace. So there's loads of add-ons available, like their scheduling systems, email lists, shop, all of those kind of things. But you only have to pay for them if you're using them. So it makes it really affordable straight away, but it also allows you to grow your business. As you scale your business, you can kind of let it grow with you. So you're not having to kind of rebuild your website all the time. You can just actually let it grow with you, which I really, really like. Let's move on now to Shopify. So similarly with Squarespace, I would always go for one of their themes. The premium ones have some really lovely designs and they're fairly simple to implement. It's not quite as easy, I would say, for me certainly. I found Squarespace to be more intuitive than Shopify, but it's not bad. It also allows you to have really other great options on Shopify, things like point of sale. So if you're doing like trade fairs or markets, things like that, you can just have like the point of sale on your phone, which is really great. You can have worldwide shipping designations. You can accept multiple payment gateways, actually far more than Squarespace offers. So you can have things like Google Pay, Amazon Pay, Apple Pay, as well as like the obvious ones like PayPal and credit cards. It also has really great fulfillment options and things like local pickup options too. So it just makes the whole process selling physical products incredibly easy. And it's also good for digital products too. You just add in different apps to help you build the different types of add-ons that you want in much the same way as Squarespace. So both Squarespace and Shopify have really excellent integrations with social media as well as analytics as well. So you can see how your site is performing. And this is particularly great if you are a bit of a technophobe and you find Google Analytics to be a little bit overwhelming. The way that Shopify and Squarespace show their analytics is a lot more intuitive for the sort of non-techie person. So that's a really great option from that perspective as well. So the next thing that I really wanted to talk about with you was like, how do you go about setting them up? And obviously, as I've said, it's always going to be how easy you find it. It's always going to be how easy you find techie stuff generally. I mean, it comes down to that really. Squarespace, as I say, I have found easier generally, although Shopify is not too bad once you get used to it, and I found that their support is very responsive and helpful. So, if you aren't particularly techie and you are struggling, their help and support, like their chat function's really great, and they tend to be pretty quick at sorting something out or telling you how to sort it out. So, and also all of their help pages and documentation pages are pretty good on both Shopify and Squarespace as well. So you can usually find a really helpful page that actually takes you through whatever you're trying to do step by step without necessarily having to get onto the support. So just now I thought I would give you a little list of all of the things that it can be really, really helpful to have ready before you kind of dive into building. Because I think a lot of us get excited. We buy the theme, we've got our domain name, and it's like let's go. But actually, if you do a bit of prep beforehand and you get a whole load of things ready, it can really make it a lot easier and be a little bit less frustrating. And you should be able to kind of zoom through and get it done in a bit of a quicker time. So, number one, have your images correctly sized. So this is something that a lot of people don't do, unless you're a photographer and you're used to doing it, of course. But get all your images sized to the right pixel sizes. So your theme or your template documentation should tell you what these are. So it's usually like, something like 1500 pixels on the long edge, for instance, or 1500 pixels wide regardless, or something like that, or 2000, or whatever it might be. So make sure that you resize all of your images. You can do that using, there's various different apps that you can use to do that. I use Lightroom when I'm exporting all my photography images, so I tend to export at the right size. But once they're at the right pixel size on the long edges or the whatever the theme is requiring, I always run mine through JPEG Mini or Tiny PNG. That's Tiny PNG, to compress them and make them smaller without loss of quality, so they don't slow mine or my clients' sites down. So that's a really, really great thing to use, because if you've got a slow website, then people lose patience and they click off really quick. So and also Google doesn't like it. If your images are well sized and compressed, then it should make your website run really, really nice and quickly, and Google likes that too. So similarly with your logo files, make sure you have them as PNGs, not JPEGs, for website use, and that they are also correctly sized, and you can run them through Tiny PNG as well. Have a list of all of your full social media URLs, not just the handles, so that you can copy and paste them in easily. Have all of your login details and passwords to hand, so things like PayPal, Google, Facebook. If you just have them all to hand, it just makes it so much easier when you're running through the setups. Have all of your codes and your IDs ready. So like your Facebook Pixel ID, if you're thinking about running ads, your Google Analytics ID, so that you can track your analytics well, all of those kind of things. And you might need other codes and things like, if you're running like newsletters, or if you've got your PayPal things and stuff like that. So then you want to make sure that you've got all of your copy written. So having it all in sort of Word documents and stuff is much, much better than just typing it directly into your website. Not least because if for any catastrophic reason the website goes down, or you lose some of your revisions, if you've got them all in Word documents, then they're really easy to copy and paste back in. So it's always a good way to kind of work anyway, just to have those backups. So have all of your terms and conditions written, your policies written, any contracts kind of type stuff, have that all ready to go. And then, of course, you're going to want to have all of your page text written as well. So all of your copy done. So like your about page, your services, like what your offerings are. You want to have all of that written. You then want to have all of your brand colours ready as well. So you need them as hex numbers. So they're the ones that have the hashtag in front of them. So like, hashtag E1, something like that is a grey, I think. So have them all as hex numbers. So you might need to convert them if you only have them, say, as like RGBs or CMYKs. But if you just do a quick Google search about converting, then you should be able to do that really, really easily. And then your hex numbers are the numbers that you need to tell the website what colours you want. So like if you've got some like background colours, or like section colours, or if you want to have different colours on different headings, for instance, things like that. Have all your brand font files ready as well. So obviously Shopify and Squarespace have a reasonable number of inherent fonts that are already in there, but if you've had some nice swanky branding done and you've got some very specific brand fonts, then you're going to need the files there ready to upload. That's a bit trickier, so you might need help with doing that if you're not techie, and you need help with uploading like specific fonts, then that can get a little bit more tricky. So if you haven't chosen your fonts already, having a look at the ones that come with the theme that you've bought, or what is available inherently on Squarespace or Shopify, is a good place to start, because that makes it really, really easy. You want to have all of your domain details ready. So like, like for instance, if you've bought it on Google or GoDaddy, you need to have all of that kind of ready to go, because you'll need to be able to point your website to the right URL. You want to have your email set up as well. So wherever you've got your email set up, you need to have access to that. And you also want your newsletter sign-up list ready. So I use Squarespaces myself, and I recommend Flowdesk for either, but specifically for Shopify. Flowdesk is really good, and it's got an integration with Shopify as well. Flowdesk is really nice just for emails anyway. It's just really easy to set up. It looks really great, and is about the going rate. So whatever you're paying for your newsletter list, that it's a pretty good option. There's loads of other ones out there, but if you don't have one already, then Flowdesk is a good place to start. I would then also, if you're product based, I would create a spreadsheet of your products. So with things like title, description, price, any variations, for instance, like colour and size. Again, just so that it's really easy for you to like copy and paste all of that information in when you're ready to go. You'll also want to think about things like categories for your shop. So I would recommend having sort of 5 or 6 categories where you can that all of your products will sit within. And similarly with your blog, you want to decide what kind of blog categories you're going to have. Again, I think like 4 or 5 is quite a nice number. Doesn't stop you adding in more later on or changing them later on, but it's nice to kind of start off with that, a good understanding of what kind of content you're going to be putting out. So I'm going to end it there. I hope you found this kind of brief overview useful. Obviously, if you find it all a bit too much and the tech side of things is just like, it's just horrible to contemplate, then do get in touch. I'm happy to help you work out the best choice for you and implement everything if you need it, or help you just choose themes or, anything like that. So do get in touch if I can help you there. But thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.